23 minutes before 8 here on Morning Live. Good to have you with us. So it's 2 years later, and this after the LIfe Esidimeni tragedy. There are still families that haven't found their loved ones. In a statement released this week, Gauteng MEC for Health Gwen Ramokgopa revealed that 21 patients are still unaccounted for. The department admitted that the difficulties in locating the patients are due to poor record keeping on their part. At least 144 mentally ill patients died after being transferred to ill-equipped and unlicensed NGOs in the province. In studio with us, we've got Nomvula Nonjabe, who is whose younger sister survived the ordeal, as well as Dr Kobie Marais. She's the Director of Mental Health from the Gauteng Department of Health. As we discuss this issue further, ladies, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you, Lynn.
I'd like to just begin with you, Nomvula. Your family was one of the lucky few, and I say one of the lucky few because your younger sister survived. You still have her. But talk to us about the days when your sister was transferred and you had no idea where she was.
Okay, so I was in the family committee, right? And we were also having meetings with the government every now and then just to understand the process and when the transfers are actually going to take place and who's going where and when. But even though that process was never like truly transparent, and as a result, so one of the things that we had agreed with after seeing that we're not going to win the fight, they're going to transfer the patients anyway. So we asked them to at least transfer them much closer to their homes.
Yeah.
So as an example, my sister was in Randfontein at Life, and I stay in Western area. So it's about 15 kilometers drive if I go and visit her. And then, so on the day that they wanted to transfer her, actually in the first place, they wanted to take her to Vereeniging. And I refused. I actually told them that you dare send it to Vereeniging, and then you got to see... you know, you're going to see something. Because for me, Vereeniging was just too far.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that they had promised that they won't do. And now they were going against their promise. So I literally told that lady that you did do it. And then you'll just see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and then they didn't make that transfer. And then I think 2 weeks later, they actually called again. And then they said, she's on the bus. She's going to Mudimo. And now this NGO, we've never heard of it at all throughout our meetings. And it wasn't even in the list that they've been, you know, sending to us.
Yeah.
Yes, in actual fact, presenting to us, because they never really sent us the list of NGOs, but they would just present in the meetings. So I was like, where's that? And then they said it's in Forgeville. But I'm like, so I quickly Googled it because I was at work. And then I couldn't find it. And then, so I asked them, why are they sending her there? And then they said, well, this is the last tranche that they're sending for females. It's an NGO for females, and they're sending the last batch. They have actually transported others there. And then so I asked them, but why? Because I haven't even seen this NGO. I've never heard of it. And they said, no, because it's late. The transfers need to be done. She's going there. They're just calling you to let you know.
To let you know, you got no involvement in this.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, so where's this? What's the address? So they gave me the address, and I went to Maps, can't find it. And then, so I'm like, but how do I get there? I can't even find this thing on the map. And then the lady said she can only give me the number of the owner because that's all she has. She doesn't have any other details other than that. So I was very frustrated because I'm at work, it's early in the morning, and now I'm getting these disturbing news because I know my sister is being
So you have a name of a place, you cannot find where this place is, and your sister is just somewhere, but you have no idea what place she's at.
Yes, and I think worst of it all is, my other fear was you're giving me a cell number. It's not a landline. So it could go on voicemail, it could not pick up the network and all that. But I took the details anyway because that's the choice I had. And then the following day, I actually made sure that I drive to the place. And then I had to like literally stay on the phone while I'm driving to the place because I couldn't find it on maps.
And what was it like when you got there?
So when I got there, it's there's a house, and then there is another, it's like an L shape. but it's made out of corrugated iron. But when we enter by the gate, I think it was an RDP house, and then they sort of extended it to make that L shape. And then, but I mean, next to it, it's a shack, and even the fencing is not strong and proper. So, and my fear was, I've taken my sister to an NGO before, and she escaped a number of times. So for me, I could just see escaping already.
So the bottom line is that this was a place that you knew was absolutely not equipped to look after your sister.
Yeah.
This is nothing that was what your sister needed and what she was at LIfe Esidimeni. This was the complete opposite, and you knew that this was trouble.
Yeah, and I think especially because before that, they had moved a first tranche to the same NGO, right? And then not long after, I think actually on the same week, I think they made that first move on Monday. And then on the very Friday, there was a lady who actually escaped from there, and she walked to Taffontein in Joburg.
Wow.
But at least she could get home.
Yeah.
But
did you leave your sister there?
I had no choice.
Option.
I had nowhere else to
leave
take
her there.
her. Yeah.
I'm going to get back to you now, but I want to bring Dr. Kobie Marais into this conversation. Did you play a part in any of this when this whole transfer was happening?
I wasn't in the Directorate of Mental Health by the time, but on behalf of the department, I can really say that these things that Nomvula is mentioning, those are all the mistakes made in the process. And we've changed our policies in so much. For instance, we do not have NGOs that are in corrugated iron, in shacks. We're looking at proper buildings. We've got environmental health practitioners that now goes into the NGOs to make sure that the structures are well prepared for the patients.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that we've changed in our policy is that families nowadays need to go and visit an NGO, and they need to give the department permission. It's very hard to find always a place nearer to home, but the nearer to home is always respected. If a family would come back and say, but we don't really like this NGOs, we've got a bad feeling, we would give them other options until we can reach an agreement where the family and the mental health care user are comfortable with the care.
Yeah. You use the word mistakes. I'd like to say crime instead, because what the department did was a crime of absolute monstrous proportions against humanity. And I mean, just listening to this story, which we can't even get into because there just is no time. Nomvula, where is your sister now?
So she's currently back at Life, but in Germiston, because
are things
closed.
better?
They're getting better, but slowly. So they're not at all better, but they're getting better.
Compared
slowly.
to the shack she was staying in?
No, compared, they're much better.
Okay, so we're getting somewhere. You have seen improvements since the hearing. Has your family been compensated?
Yes.
So you are one of the beneficiaries. Like I say in the beginning of the interview, you're one of the fortunate ones. But fortunate is a word that I throw out at you, not because it means much, but because you actually still have your sister and you're okay. There are 21 families out there that have no idea where their loved ones are. What's happening? And the blame was purely put by the MEC on poor record keeping.
That's absolutely true. We do not have proper records of where those patients went. In some of the instances, we had records that the patient went to a specific address. When we get to the address, the people are not staying there anymore. These are not families looking for the mental health care users. It's Gauteng Department of Health looking for those patients. The last 42 patients, no, 41, we all found with their families. So it's about understanding who's on the list and checking on the information.
How do we lose 21 people? I mean, there are a lot of unanswered questions, even after the hearings were held. And I mean, we've got 21 people that have just been lost. How is this? How is it possible? What is what groundwork has the Special Investigating Unit done?
Okay. And the Special Investigating Unit that was appointed by the President, they are looking at the criminal problems that occurred in this. But the Department of Health is responsible to find that 21 mental health care users. So the police is continuing with criminal investigations. The SIU is looking into their part, and those are really continuing day by day. So I'm sure we'll see a criminal case by next year.
Yeah.
But the Department of Health is looking for the 21.
Do you know the names of those that have disappeared?
Yes.
You do know the names?
We do.
I mean, we've got the DA that have said that they suspect that they are dead. Have you gone that route?
Yes, we are in contact with the Department of Home Affairs in order to see if those patients are still alive. We're also in contact with the Department of Social Grants to see whether any of those patients' families has now brought them to the offices to get a social grant for us then to trace them through those systems.
Yeah. Nomvula, sorry, I just don't have time, but Nomvula, you saw the situations, you saw the conditions, you saw the process. You were lucky enough to have had someone call you and say, okay, well, we're taking your sister here, and you could phone them, you had a number, so you could access them. What do you believe may have happened to these 21 patients that have disappeared?
Look, I also believe that some of them might have been secretly buried, and some of them, they might have been lost in transit. Because even in the manner in which they were transferred, it was horrific. And I mean, some of them, they were moved from some NGOs at night, and you know, and some of them, they could have ran away and got lost in that transfer. Yeah. So it's just heartbreaking just to think on what they could be experiencing or what could have happened to them at the moment.
Ladies, I thank you very much for coming in and for talking to us here on the program. Nomvula Nonjabe, thank you. Thanks for your bravery. Thanks for speaking out. Nomvula's younger sister survived the ordeal. She's now getting better care than she was previously getting. And also talking to us was Dr. Kobie Marais, the Director of Mental Health from the Gauteng Department of Health. Thank you very much as well for coming in. Let's take a break. When we return,